Imagine that you are startled awake by the announcement that a paper has been made public by an intern working on Capitol Hill, which has the potential to completely impact the future of Bitcoin. On the internet, rumors start to circulate about a mysterious law that is alleged to have the designation HR 9999. The Crypto Clarity Act appears to identify XRP as the only cryptocurrency that satisfies the criteria necessary for the settlement of banking systems in the United States of America. A number of tweets that have gone viral on social media platforms claim that this so-called leak includes an 89-page draft in which Section 4, Clause B, is said to make reference to Ripple and XRP by their actual names and to describe them as the most important component of the liquidity infrastructure that the United States will implement in the near future. The declaration is far more expansive than that in scope. If XRP were to be designated as the officially mandated liquidity bridge, it would be necessary for financial institutions located all over the country to purchase XRP in vast quantities in order to meet their future liquidity requirements. As a result of this, the amount that the token is worth in terms of its notional fair value would climb to an astonishing $10,000 per token. The type of story that has the potential to become a viral hit because of its dramatic, explosive character is the one in question, and it is so theatrical that it is nearly impossible to ignore. Nevertheless, before we can take any of these pieces of information at face value, it is imperative that we assess the assertions that have been made and investigate the actual claims of the leak. On the internet, there is a tale being sent around that claims that the government is secretly making plans to start a new digital economy. In this economy, XRP would be the only asset that banks would be compelled to use in order to settle their accounts. This report is the smoking gun that XRP holders have been waiting for, according to the claims put forth by supporters. It provides evidence that Ripple has been discreetly coordinating with federal agencies. They are of the opinion that this alleged measure does not simply serve as a means of regulation. Rather, it creates a legally backed evaluation system for XRP, which would thereafter connect the price of XRP to liquidity demands on a worldwide scale. Many people have the belief that the confirmation of this leak provides support for the conjecture that has been circulating for several years regarding Ripple's integration into financial systems, as well as the idea that the legislature is preparing for a major vote that is anticipated to occur at some point during the week that is coming up, making sure that the Bitcoin industry gets a 72-hour notice before the creation of a new historical moment. On the other hand, the moment that we begin to examine these statements more closely, we will notice that there are several issues that arise. In the case of allegations that are so audacious in nature, it is absolutely necessary to approach them with a healthy level of skepticism and to make it a priority to confirm the veracity of the facts before to making any kind of judgment. To start off with, there is not a single piece of data, whether official or unofficial, that proves a link between cryptocurrencies, banking settlement, or the classification of digital assets and a legislation that is numbered HR 9999. After conducting an extensive review of legislative monitoring databases, congressional records, and public archives, no evidence has been found that would support the existence of a bill with these characteristics. Neither the establishment of specific prices for assets nor the designation of specific cryptocurrencies for necessary use in banking operations is defined by the United States Congress. The procedure for the development of new laws is carried out in a way that is open to the public, and any extraordinary actions like this one would be widely publicized and spoken about in public forums. Carrying out a move of this kind would be unprecedented, it would give rise to problems over whether it is lawful, and it would be difficult to implement in practice. Concerns would be expressed over both the constitutionality of the situation and its economic repercussions. There is a very high likelihood that it would be promptly contested in court by a number of different parties that have a stake in the topic. One example of a piece of law that aims to provide guidelines and definitions rather than to advocate for or enforce the adoption of a specific corporate product or token is the FIT 21 bill, which has been the subject of much controversy. It is not the goal of these legislative initiatives to determine whether digital assets will ultimately be successful or fail. Instead, their focus is on the industry's need to implement unambiguous regulations. In addition, there is not a single financial regulatory authority in the United States that has the authority to force financial institutions to buy a specific cryptocurrency as part of its liquidity operations. The primary objective of the regulatory framework is to ensure stability and fairness. It is not intended to require the adoption of any certain technology or asset. In the event of this scenario, what is the cause of this misconception propagating in such a way? What was the factor that contributed to its becoming so widely popular that it quickly swept throughout social media platforms and news outlets? A significant amount of frustration has been felt in the cryptocurrency community, and this has been going on for a very long time. Additionally, there is a widespread demand for clarification when it comes to regulatory matters. Over the passage of time, the degree of intensity of this frustration has only intensified. The fact that the rules of the game may be changed at any moment without warning is the source of the ongoing state of uncertainty that has investors feeling fatigued. They are tired of the endless legal fights, the ever-changing laws, and the interminable debates over what makes something a security or a commodity. Every piece of news brings with it an extra degree of confusion. A breakthrough is what they long for, a moment in which everything abruptly becomes clear, the mist vanishes, and the path ahead is predictable and secure. Ripple is currently engaged in a number of legal battles. These legal disputes are taking place in parallel with the actual advancements that have been achieved in the areas of cross-border payments and tokenized assets. All of these factors have contributed to the formation of a situation in which people are ready to jump on every piece of sensational news in the hope that it will signal a turning point. XRP, for instance, has a network of fans that are not only enthusiastic, but also vocal in their support. Over the course of a number of years, they have been developing theories that explore the possibility of covert alliances between governments, solutions to issues involving liquidity on a global scale, and the possibility that XRP may play an important part in the financial industry in the years to come. When you combine all of that suppressed hope and fear with a credible forgery and a dramatic, well-prepared story, you have the perfect environment for a rumor to disseminate quickly and widely. Nevertheless, the situation that is unfolding in the spheres of banking and cryptocurrencies at this very moment is considerably more interesting than the rumor. The fact that millions of individuals immediately became interested in this news story is indicative of just how much the Bitcoin business is in need of substantive legislative progress. This demonstrates the extent to which investors, developers, and ordinary citizens hope that politicians will offer them with a more straightforward understanding of the future. Proposals that are now being discussed in Congress and by regulatory authorities have the potential to have a significant influence on XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the entire digital economy. This is in stark contrast to the fraudulent HR 9999. The way that the digital economy functions could undergo a major transformation as a result of these recommendations, and this could continue for many years to come. Congress is taking incremental steps toward more specific definitions, more advantageous tax treatment, and supervision that is more systematically organized. Despite the fact that they are being phased in at a gradual pace, these steps are important for the purpose of laying the groundwork for a robust foundation that will guarantee the continued prosperity of the business. During this interim period, banks and financial institutions all around the world are researching the application of distributed ledger technology as a means of expediting the process of settlements. By establishing connections all across the globe, Ripple has been able to expand its reach and boost its influence. Ripple is even going to the extent of conducting experiments with asset tokenization and novel varieties of payments made across international borders. Nevertheless, not one of these components is sufficient to constitute a hidden government, a specific course of action, or a cost that has been established by legislation. Although progress is being made, anyone is able to see it. The so-called 72-hour rule is just a dramatic hook, which is a common technique employed to heighten passion and urgency, as well as to make a rumor appear more credible. Not only is there no vote on any law that is similar to the one that is referenced in the claimed leak scheduled to take place, but there is not even a bill of that nature in existence. There is an absence of hearings, a draft, and internal records that would provide evidence that such a policy shift has occurred. It is fully fabricated. It was created based on genuine interest and real progress. However, the fact that this object has garnered enormous popularity serves as evidence of a deeper underlying truth. People prefer when things are explained to them in a simple and direct manner, and they are enthusiastic about the prospect of a future in which digital assets will serve functions that are secure, well-defined, and connected on a global scale. What does that leave them